Hello guys, this is Karthik from executeautomation.com and welcome to Selenium Titbits. And in this tidbits, we're going to discuss about working with tables. And in this tidbits, we're going to working with simple tables of web pages. So this is one of the most requested topic of my subscribers in YouTube and also from the Execute Automation website subscribers. So this video is for you. I have split this video into two parts. One is simple tables of web pages and complex tables of the web pages. So we will discuss this table working in two different parts. So let's get started. HTML tables. Basically, all the tables rendered in web pages are HTMLs, other than telerik or infrastructure control tables. So those are the third-party tables, and that tables are different. But basically, most of the tables which are rendered in the web pages are HTML tables. In automation of our application, we will encounter places where we might need to read the table or get a cell value from a table or compare the table value with our application's database. So these are the scenarios where we will be encountering in an automation to perform these kinds of operation. So surely HTML tables and performing these operations are a super important concept for us. So simple table and what we're going to work with. So in this demonstration, our simple table is going to look something like this. It will have four columns and three rows, and if you see, it has like employee ID, name, email, and phone number, with employee ID of 100 and name is Karthik, and 101 with name is Prashant, and 102 with the name Ramesh, right? So these are the details, and what we're going to do is we're just going to read all the data, and then we're going to store it into a collection, and then we can read the value directly from the collection rather every time to go and look into the web pages table and get the data out from here. So that way we can reduce a lot of time consuming operation in Selenium. All right, so this concept is pretty much same like the one which we have already discussed in reading data from an Excel sheets. You can see the concept from here. So we have read Excel data, and then we stored it in a collection, and then we are using a custom class to create the list of collection values, and then we try to retrieve the value out from the collections class. So this is how we used to do in our Excel sheet. I have used exactly the same concept, but here instead of Excel sheet, I'm using the HTML table and I'm storing the values into the collections. So what is a simple algorithm to do it for reading the data from a HTML table? It's pretty straightforward. First, get the table that you're going to work with, and then get all the columns, which is nothing but the th of the table, and create an index of the column as well. Then get all the rows, which is nothing but the tr, and create an index of that as well. And then loop through all the rows, which is nothing but the tr, and its data, which is nothing but the td. So you will get all the data of that particular row, and then store all the values into collections that you are creating, which is nothing but the custom collection. I hope this is a very simple algorithm and you can understand about it. So if not, let's get deep into that by flipping into Visual Studio and see how things works. So I'm going to flip to Visual Studio. So I have created a very simple console application project here. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to create some quick steps so that we can start reading the data from a HTML table. So I have already created the tables in my local computer. So this is the simple table which we're going to work right now, right? And then the next video we'll discuss about this complex tables. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to first install the Selenium in my project. So I'm going to add reference for that. So for that, I'm going to the manage NuGet package, and I'm going to search for the Selenium. All right. I'm going to install the Selenium WebDriver, and also I'm going to add a reference for the Selenium support package as well, because we're going to use page object model a little bit to store the table's detail. Great. So these are the only package which we require for this particular project. So I'm just going to close it. And then let's go to the table and see how we can identify this particular table. So for that, I'm just going to open this table with Firefox. All right. So since my web page has only one table, identifying this table is pretty straightforward. If you're going to identify using an XPath, then it's pretty simple because all you have to do is just put double slash of table. This will identify this particular table. If you don't know about XPath, please go ahead and watch the XPath tidbits in Selenium Tidbits playlist of this particular execute automation channel. All right, so this is the way which we can identify this particular table. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to write a very simple page object model class to perform that operation. So for doing that, I'm just going to go and create a simple base class initially. And then I'm just going to hold the WebDriver. So for that, I'm just going to create a simple iWebDriver of driver. All right. And then I'm going to create the pages. So first I'm going to add a class file, and then I'm just going to name this as table page, and I'm going to quickly add the reference for the base page, and I'm going to create a constructor here, and for that I'm just going to use the page factory dot init elements of the driver and this particular page. And then I'm going to add very quickly the identification property for my control. So I'm going to identify using the XPath. So I'm just going to use the XPath, and the XPath is nothing but double slash of tables or table. And then I'm just going to give a name for this property. So it's nothing but a web element, and the name I can give it as oops TBL, or just we can give it a stable, which is great. So this is the way which I can identify my table. And now let's go back to my program.cs, and here I'm going to call my methods to perform the operations which we saw in our simple algorithm. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a another class, and I'm going to name this as utilities, and let me start writing the code. So before writing the code, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create the custom class. So for that, I'm not going to waste my time, but I'm just going to copy this particular class straight away, and I'm going to paste it right here. All right. And then instead of data collection, I am going to call this as something called table data collection, which makes more sense. And also, since these are public, I'm going to capitalize this for a good behavior, and I'm going to hold the column name and the column value. All right, great. So then I'm going to come back to my code once again for this utility class, and I'm going to quickly create a list of my table data collection, and I'm going to create a name for this. Let's say I'm going to give a name as underscore table data collection is equal to new of this. All right, great. And then I'm going to start creating two methods. So let's first create the placeholder for the two methods, and the one method which I'm going to give the name as public void read table, and then I'm going to create one more method, which is nothing but reading the cell value from the table. So read cell. So once you read the table initially, then you can start reading the cell value automatically from this particular method. All right, so this method is going to be responsible for reading the data from a table and then storing it into the table data collection. So as I already told, we are going to read the table. So for that, I'm going to dynamically read the table. So whichever I'm going to pass this from the parameter, I'm just going to read that particular table. So this is going to be my table, which I'm going to read. And then we first need to read all the column of the table. So get all the columns from the table. So for that, I'm just going to create quickly a var of a table dot find elements, because it's going to be a lot of th there, sorry. So for that, I'm just going to do a by dot tag name, and then I'm going to give the tag name as th. So this is going to give me a list of columns. So this is going to return me a read-only collection of iWeb element, right? And then I'm going to get all the rows. So for that, again, I'm just going to put the rows is equal to table dot find elements by dot tag name of tr, right? So this is going to give me all the rows. And as I already told, I need to create the row index, which is going to be keeping track of where my row is while it moves in my for each loop. So I'm just going to create the row index as well. And then I'm going to write a very simple for each loop. So this time I'm going to loop into all the rows. So again, rows, and the variable is going to be my row, right? And then I also need to create the column index. So I'm going to create the column index as well. And this column index is again going to start from 0, right? And then I'm going to read all the column datas, because in a particular table, they can have multiple number of TDs. If you go back here and if you see the table structures, you can see this tr can have lot of th, because this is the table heading. And then if you come back to this particular tr, if you can see there are a lot of tds, and every tr will have multiple tds. So again, tds are going to be a collections, they are not just a single value. So again, so column datas are going to be something like this. So this time I'm going to iterate each and every row. So row dot find elements by dot tag name of td. So this is going to get me all the data which is available within the particular row, right? So let's start putting all the data into my collections which I have created, table data collections. So for that, again, I'm just going to put the for each, and this time I'm going to iterate in all the column datas, and this is going to be my column value, and that's what it is technically, which we're going to store it. And again, it's going to be table data collections dot add of new table data collection, and I'm just going to store all the values in here. So we know that the table data collections actually has a row number. So the row number is nothing but our row index, which we already created right here. And then we need to have the column name. So the column name is nothing but the column which we have, this particular column, and we also need to pass its column index. So I'm going to create the columns, and the column index is nothing but the one which we have already created, just nothing but the call index dot, we need to get its text. And then I'm going to also add the column value. So for column value, what we have to do, it's again pretty simple. We just need to get the column value dot text. That's it. So this will add all the values into my table data collection. And then I need to advance to the next column. So I need to move to next column. So for doing that, I'm just going to increase the column index, and also I need to increase the row index. That's it. This is the code to read the data from a table and storing it into your local collection, table data collection, right? And then let's come back here and start writing this read cell. So what will be this read cell actually have? So how are you going to read the cell? If you come back here, how to read a cell value? Let's say if I want to read Prashant at ea.com, how should I read this? All I have to do is just pass the row number and its column name so that I can get its value out from here. So that's it. So it's exactly the same concept which we have seen while reading this Excel data as well. We have passed the row number and the column name. So it's exactly the same concept I'm using for this as well. So again, it's going to be the column name and row number. And the row number is going to be integer. So I'm just going to pass integer type, and it's going to be a row number. Okay. I'm just going to quickly write a link query here. So from E in table data collections, where where E dot column name is equal to the column name which I'm passing, and the row number is the row number which I'm passing as a parameter. And then you just select the E. It's going to return me the particular column value. So I'm just going to put them in a bracket, and I will be interested in the first value, so single or default, and that's it. So this is going to return me a particular string value. So what I'm going to do is I'm then going to return a string value. So again, let's go back here and let's change this to string. So this will return me the column value, right? So this is going to be the read cell method. So now let's come back to our program.cs file, and let's start to first initialize our driver. That's the main thing to open up the web page. So again, I'm also going to implement our base uh, class because it has the driver instance. So I'm just going to take the driver. All right, I cannot do that initialization here because it is a static method. So I'm just going to create a constructor here, and then I'm just going to call the driver is equal to new Firefox driver. All right, and then I'm just going to set the driver dot navigate dot go to URL of our web page. So our web page is nothing but this. Actually, it's a file path, so I can still navigate to this particular path here. I'm just going to save this, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call our program p is equal to new program, which is going to initialize my constructor. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to initialize my utilities, and what I'm going to do is let's quickly try to write this guy as a static. So static, and let's make everybody a static so that I can easily read them. All right. Okay, great. And let's go back here. Utilities dot first read table, and we need to pass the table here. So our table is actually sitting in the table page. So I'm going to call this page is equal to new table page. All right. And then I'm just going to quickly call our table. So this particular page has my table property. So I'm just going to pass that one as well. So this is going to read my table, and then we need to get the cell value from the table. So for doing that, what I'm going to do is quickly I'm just going to call the utilities dot read cell of, I need to pass the row number or the column name and the row number. I believe it's column name and row number. Yes. So the column name of my table, let's say email, and the row number is, let's say I'm going to just pass 2 because it starts from the row index of 0 1 2. All right, so I think it's one meaning it's Karthik at ea.com. I believe it's correct if I'm not wrong. So let's quickly do a console.writeLine and call this method. All right, and just put a bracket there, and also quickly do a console.read. Let's run this code and see if we can really get the value out from it. So hopefully it should open up the Firefox browser for us, and also it should read the data from the table and write the result back to our console. All right, so it seems like it opened the browser, and then it should write the value in the console. Is it reading or is it writing? I think we got an error here, and it says that the driver is null. All right, seems like the driver of our page is not initialized. So for that, let's do a small dirty work here. Maybe that's not a best way to do it, but I'm just going to do this this time. So I'm just going to change this guy to a static, so that I can call this driver in a static method as well. And if I go back to the program.cs, and if I just cut this code, and let's delete this as well, and I can just paste it right here, and now you can see that the driver is still accepted, and hopefully this time it should work. Right, and now if I try to run this code, hopefully this time this should run. All right, do you see that the Karthik at ea.com is now coming? So this is how we can read the data out from a table and show it from our read cell. So let's try to elaborate this and see if we get all the data out from this. So for that, I'm just going to write a small console.writeLine, pretty much this, the name with email and phone. So I'm just going to put this guys in utilities dot read cell of name. Let's do a 2 here this time, and utilities dot read cell of email, and we'll read the phone number as well. So utilities dot read cell of phone of 2. All right, hopefully this time they are correct. And let's not read this guy, and let's make it a little prettier. All right, I don't know if it's really pretty, but maybe we can make it more pretty as well. Just don't worry about the pretty stuffs. So I'm just going to run this again. All right, Do you see the name Prashant with email prashantea.com and phone number is this? So this is how you can read the cell and perform an operation more like you're performing an operation into your local memory data, right? So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video and have a great day.